So today, I'd like to talk about my memory with one particular person. I enjoyed so much learning from him, and his name is Reverend James Parks Morton. Reverend James Parks Morton was a great human being. I met him in 1998 when our organization, Shumei, held a symposium on world peace through art, spirituality, and the environment at the newly built Miho Museum in Shigaraki, Japan. He participated as one of the speakers. After that, Reverend Morton guided Shumei into the world of interfaith and greatly helped transform our organization. I also received much guidance in personal as well as pastoral and organizational matters. He was my mentor, role model, father figure, and friend. Reverend Parks Morton passed away on January 4th of this year. He was 89 years old. Today, I'd like to talk about my memory with him. As a young man, the very Reverend James Parks Morton studied architecture at Harvard University. It was here that he found his mission. A Catholic priest had come to Harvard and talked about some French priests who cast aside their clerical colors and worked anonymously in factories. This became the profound focal turning point in Reverend Morton's life. He decided to give up architecture and became a worker priest. After studying theology in Cambridge University, he spent a total of 16 years in Jersey City, in New Jersey, and Chicago, Illinois, serving the poor and the needy. In 1972, he was invited by then Episcopal Bishop of New York, Father Moore, to become the Dean of the Cathedral of St. John the Divine. Have you been to this place? St. John the Divine. So from now on, I will refer to him by his nickname, Dean. He was the dean of this cathedral. It is the world's largest Gothic cathedral and the nation's largest church. According to the New York Times, he has created a 20th century version of a medieval cathedral, a bustling, intellectually productive town common. Indeed, over the last 25 years, one of the significant gathering places, a prominent advocate for the poor, and a political and religious forum for everyone, from Jesse Jackson to Dalai Lama. After such a successful and accomplished career, Dean decided to resign and to focus his energy towards something he had always deeply cared about: to make this world better through the interfaith movement. As the president of the Interfaith Center of New York, which Dean Morton created, he was vigorously active in making a difference locally and internationally. In 1997, the same year Dean created the Interfaith Center, Shumei also created Miho Museum. What a coincidence. After that, Shumei began its organizational review by looking at ourselves objectively. In that sense, it was quite fortunate for Shumei to have met Dean at that time. I believe it was divine providence. In 1975, 3 years after Reverend Morton became the Dean of St. John, there was another occurrence of divine providence. Dean did something unthinkable in the cathedral. Can you imagine? Can you understand what's happening in this photo? Dean invited a Japanese Shinto-based religion called Omoto to conduct their ritual at the altar of Episcopal Church. You see the cross. And the white priest, they are the Shinto priests. They are conducting Shinto ceremony at the Christian church altar. For this act, Dean was harshly criticized of desecrating the sacred Christian altar. He was almost fired. But his popularity saved his position as the dean of the church. Dean continued with his belief in interfaith by accepting an invitation to conduct a Christian service at the altar of Japanese Shinto shrine of Omoto in Japan the following year. So this dean is conducting a Christian service at the Shinto shrine. A few years later, Dean's daughter, Polly, visited Japan and began studying Japanese traditional weaving, through which she met my wife Jane in Kyoto. They didn't know that would be the beginning of a lifelong friendship. This was only 1 year before Jane found Shumei. Jane's life changed dramatically as soon as she joined Shumei in 1982. To make a long story short, only 4 years later, she married Eujine. And came to America to live. And then 11 years passed. 1997, when Dean met Shumei for the first time, Dean found my wife Jane was a longtime friend of his daughter, Polly. Can you believe that? I couldn't. It seems that Jane was destined to come to America to help cement the connection, the Dean Morton and Shumei. How did I know? When my friend Pauline Lomas said, I found a nice girl for you here in Kyoto, that this girl would someday have a special task to accomplish in America. So I'll tell you how your life would turn around to a totally different direction. And some of you may be surprised. You are sitting in the Shumei Center Sunday morning with a bunch of people and listening to Eujine's speech. And you don't know how your life is going to develop from here. Be ready and just accept your destiny. Congratulations. Sorry for this sidetrack. I couldn't help but share this story with you. Let's go back to Dean. I learned a lot from him. His words shook my soul and elevated my spirit higher. This is a photo of the interfaith ceremony or service to support Kofi Annan. He said, interfaith is really a reality of our generation, as we are the generation that travels in jets, and we are the generation that communicates on the internet. In our grandparents' time, when we lived in villages, most of the people, probably all of them, would be of one religion, of one race, of one language, eating one kind of food. That's just not the world of today. People are all jumbled together. We are all interconnected. We are interracial. We are inter-everything. An interfaith consciousness, therefore, is recognizing the situation in which different people are living together. According to Dean, religions are different. Spirituality is universal. I grew up inside of Shumei in Japan, where everything was viewed according to Shumei's teachings. Everything is explained by Meisama's teachings. I didn't know outside. But after I met Dean, the Dean really helped me to see Shumei and myself objectively, and to understand how Shumei can improve its relationship with other organizations, and how I myself can improve my relationship with others. I'm ever grateful to him. He also said that heaven on earth is when our differences are recognized as beautiful, as made by God. Just as all of creation is made up of differences. Heaven on earth is when our differences are recognized as beautiful, as made by God, just as all of creation is made up of differences. The way Dean describes art and religion is fascinating to me. He said, art is a combination of inside and outside. All art is made with outside stuff. If it's sculpture, it's rock or bronze. If it's painting, it's paint on canvas. If it's dance, it's human bodies. If it's poetry, it's words that are spoken or written. By those words and that sculpture and that painting and that dance are inspired. They come from the invisible spirit that is inside the brain and the personality and heart of the artist. And so the work of art is this combination of the internal spiritual energy that drives the artist to transform a rock of stone into an extraordinary, moving and beautiful piece of sculpture. Art is a transformative process. The invisible spirit transforms the visible work. But for that to happen, the artist himself or herself is also transformed. The end quote. I never heard art defined that way. This explanation clearly makes a sense to somebody like me who has a scientific mind. Dean explains about religion this way. Religion is man-made in the same way that art is man-made. But what makes religion alive is a spirit that works through us, human beings, who are worshiping God. God is God, God is spirit. And God's spirit works through us. That's exactly parallel as to what happens to the artist in making creation of art. We do that with our religion because we want to worship God and we want to live God's will for us. But we are flesh and bones and doing things inspired by spirit. So our religious life is a transformative life in the same way that an artist's life is a transformative life. Dean elaborates. Dean elaborates on how to best live our religious life. Quote, our goal is to become conscious of the invisible energy of love and light and spirit, and to focus it, to make the invisible on the inside of us become the visible outside of us. That is what spirituality is all about. Focus, bringing the light and love and healing power inside of us, outside in service to our neighbors, our fellow humans, our fellow trees and rivers. Everything that is sick, we can help, cure. We were created to serve and to heal. Are we always conscious of our inner energy of light and love? Are we letting our inner energy reach out through kind words, tender smiles, active listening, helping hands, or sharing joy? According to Shumei's founder, Meishu-sama, true happiness comes from making others happy. But we are sometimes unable to do this spiritual work successfully. When I myself felt defeated and limited, I went to talk to Dean and sought guidance from him. He was my father figure and friend. I asked him how I could help some difficult members behave better. I was seeking some kind of magic words or specific remedy for these problems. When talking to him, I felt his enormous love for me as well as the people I was having troubles with. I realized I needed to become bigger in my heart and more compassionate. Issue is not them. Issue is me. One time he introduced me to the Blanton and Peel Institute and Counseling Center in New York. Have you ever heard Blanton and Peel Institute? This organization was founded in 1937 by two eminent individuals, Minister Reverend Norman Vincent Peale. He talked about the positive thinking, and psychiatrist Dr. Smiley Blanton, who brought together the insights of psychology and psychiatry and the wisdoms of the world great spiritual traditions. I was also introduced to systems theory to deal with some challenges in our families and organizations and society. The way I was looking at the world around me had been expanded and enriched with the help of Dean. These experiences helped me to realize I needed to be more loving and grateful person by connecting with my deepest inner self. See, the interface with other religions, interface between science and spirituality, and learning all kinds of the wisdoms and the methods to tackle with our daily problems. The most important, the key of the solution is within us. We need to become bigger in our heart and more compassionate. That's what Dean taught me. He was an earthly saint for me. I'd like to conclude with a brief poem by Meishu-sama. It is better to be one who is appreciated than one who is thought as great. It is better to be one who is appreciated than one who is thought as a great. Thank you.